All right, ladies and gentlemen, so now we're going to use a couple other variables, and we're going to talk about a vector, rotator, transform, and array. So let me get my brush set here. So these are four different types of variables that fundamentally do similar things, and the vector is going to be the x, y, and z location of an object. So we have the x. Trim my smoothing up a little bit. Y and Z location. The rotator is going to be the X, Y, and Z rotation of an object. So that's going to be its orientation. And then the transform is going to have all three. It's going to have the vector, rotation, as well as the transform or scale. So here we're going to have the XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. So for the vector, the scale, the rotation, and the transform scale, which is the size. So let's do something with that here in Unreal. And we're going to take this trigger volume. We're going to have two of them. And we're going to have this guy move between the two of them. So I'm going to go into my code. I'm going to delete everything that's there. And let's name these trigger volumes so that it's easier to remember. So we'll call this one trigger right and trigger left. And if you don't have a trigger volume, just hit the plus, type in trigger, and it'll pop up trigger volume right there. Or a box trigger. I think that it's not going to make a difference. So we'll start with trigger right, and we're going to add an event. Begin overlap. And then we'll do the same thing to this one. I'll just type in begin overlap. And you can see that it pops up. Make sure that they're selected, otherwise this won't work. We're also going to get the cube in here, and we're going to create a new we're going to create a new variable, and this one is going to be the box location. And we're just going to worry about the vector, the location of it. When the game begins, we want to set this box location vector. So I'll just drag it out here and say set. And we want to set it to the location of this cube. So we're going to pull out a function called getLocation. And that's going to become our variable. So at the beginning of the level, no matter where the cube is, we're going to check it and set it to this amount right here. So on the actor begin overlap trigger right, we're going to set a timeline. And this timeline is going to update our location. So we're going to set actor location. Location. Nope, let's do it from here. I'm going to copy and paste this cube. Set actor location. And the location is going to be essentially this box. So right now, basically means it's not going to move at all, right? So let's set our timeline up, and we want this thing to move. So if I right now I see that oops, I'm gonna just grab it by for me it's the y-axis. So we started around 130 and we ended about 630. So it's gonna move 500. So I'm gonna go into my timeline. I'm gonna add a track, and we're gonna add a vector track. And you can see there's an X and a Y and a Z. Now, you might be moving it along the X instead of the Y, but for me, I'm going to turn off and lock the X and the Z because I don't need them. I just want to affect the. Actually, let's pull the Z up too a little bit just for fun. We'll do that in a second. So I'm going to start with a Y that's going to be 0, 0. Make sure you hit enter, otherwise that won't stay there. And then I'm going to set it to 2 seconds and 500. So our timeline is going to take 2 seconds. So let's set that to 2 on the length. And then click these 2 buttons and you can see the progression. And we'll set these to auto so that we have a nice curve. So it's a smooth movement. Oops. So you should get something like this, like that. Now let's go ahead and turn off the Y, lock it, and we'll turn on the Z. We'll move it up a little bit just for fun. 0, 0, and then 2, and it goes up 100, we'll say. So let's see that. And you can see it's right there. Let's auto that as well. So we get nice smooth movement and compile. And you can see that now we see both of the Y and the Z. So let me go to my event graph here, and we're going to take the current location of the graph of the cube that it finds out at the beginning, and we're going to add this to this vector. So we're going to do a plus, and we're going to take that vector and add it to this one, and then set our new location. If we went straight to here, then as you can see when I hit play, we're going to get weird movements because the box is going to end up at whatever the timeline's telling it. But when we add them together, it's going to take its current location and it's going to use that information. Now, when we do our next timeline, which was going to be the left box, we're just going to take all this stuff, copy and paste it, and we're going to go to, instead of play the timeline, we're going to reverse the timeline. So let's see what happens. Oops. So I go in here, it goes up. I come in here, and it didn't work. So let's try this. Let's try instead reverse from end. And for this one, we'll do play from start. And that way it'll keep resetting the timeline. Let's try this. So I go over here, it goes up. And I go over here and it goes back down. Now the problem is, if I go back into here, it's going to just keep reversing the timeline. So we have to only let this work if the box is in the correct location. So we'll say we're going to have to add a Boolean here. Box is right. So if the box is right, everything's good. We're going to set that to a Boolean, and we're going to say we're going to get this value. And by default, we'll compile it so we can see the box is going to be checked true. It is right. So we'll do a branch to check to see if this box is on the right. And if it is, then it's going to run the timeline. And we'll do the same thing down here. But this time, we don't want it to be on the right. So if this is true, nothing's going to happen. We want to pull it from the false, which is reverse from end. We now need to make sure that we tell this thing when it's done moving, which is when it's finished, we're going to set this Boolean box is right to false, because the box is no longer on the right once this is finished. And then the same thing here. this is finished, the box is right, is going to be true, because now the box is over on the right side. So now, if I start off and I try to go straight to this box, oops, nothing happens until I come over here. And it actually won't let me do this one until it's finished. Now, the only thing that is going to ruin this is if I do go back and forth, it's going to keep playing this timeline over again, because it waits till it's finished to set it to say that it's there. But that's an easy fix. We could just, instead of plugging that here, we could plug it here and stick it there instead of unfinished. But I'm not going to make you guys worry about that. Okay. So that's our code, and I just want to see that you have these boxes that go back and forth appropriately. Going up, going down. This box does not want you to jump on it. You know, and again, if we go too early, nothing happens until it's had a chance. But if we go back and forth, it will continue the loop over again, because we put that set Boolean in the wrong spot. It's fine. All right, that's it for today.